physical. It's really just not, it's cost prohibitive to do a yearly physical for everybody. So we're breaking it up and doing a third of the department a year. So everybody gets their annual physical every 3 years. It's between $600 and $700 to get it done.
I know you explained it once before with the hose testing. What does that entail?
So they bring in this, it's a trailer,
Mm-hmm.
and it increases the pressure. They can do 300 feet of hose at a time, and they put 300 pounds of pressure through it to make sure that it doesn't stretch, it doesn't burst.
Okay.
And it's continues to be serviceable.
Mm-hmm.
For many years, it used to be done in-house, but it puts a lot of wear and tear on the fire pump. It's just not made for that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the amount of time that you're doing that, because you have to do it for all the hose.
Mm-hmm. How long does that usually take them? A day or so?
If we do it ourselves, it'll take about a week.
Oh, wow.
Just trying to do it on downtime.
Mm-hmm.
The company that comes in, they bring in about 15 people, they're dedicated to it, and they get it done all in one day.
Okay.
They take it all off the trucks and they put it all back on the trucks.
And that's usually $5,000 for that part of it?
Yeah.
The hose testing? I know we discussed it before when you explained it.
And that's probably gonna lead to us having to purchase some new hose, because I'm sure some of it's going to fail.
Mm-hmm.
There's some pretty old hose sitting on racks.
Mm-hmm. I bet. Won't be able to stand the pressure. Thank you.
Are we still taking care of the cisterns and stuff?
Yep, we have, that's all part of that, line 601, the dry hydrant program. That's the dry hydrants and the cisterns. Recently, like within the last 2 weeks, we actually drove around and tested a bunch of the dry hydrants. And because of the drought, there's a lot of places that don't have water. And subject for another time, but I'm working on trying to find a program where we can get more of the cisterns specifically in, so we don't have this problem in future droughts. Yeah, we gotta find some people in land that are willing to do it, and then work on making it happen.
Well, I know a lot of these were put in because at that time, that's what the planning board was, if you were gonna.
If you have a
subdivide and stuff,
subdivision of 5 or
We had,
more.
right, we had put cisterns in.
Yeah, but we have some places where that's not happening, but there's still just no water. We need to work on that program.
There being nothing else, gentlemen, I'll entertain a motion to approve the fire department's budget for 2021 of the point of $1,017,902.
So move.
Motion made by Mr. Wentworth to approve the fire department's budget of $1,017,902, second by Mr. Rochelle. Any further discussion? Just let anybody know that's roughly about a 4% increase.
Mm-hmm.
Budget within our requirements, what we're requesting, that was with adding that position in. No further discussion, I'll poll the board. Mr. McDonald? Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. Fire department budget is approved and affirmative. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Beavers yet? We do. All right, so we'll go back to the building department, 4192. Mr. Devers is on the phone. Good evening, Mr. Devers.
I'm here.
Yes, sir.
How are you?
I'm wonderful. Yourself?
Not bad.
Good. So, gentlemen, we reviewed the budget before. We looked at it. I didn't know if you had any further questions for Mr. Devers.
Yes. Line 029, John. You have secretary buyout at end of year.
Okay.
We haven't hired the secretary yet, have we?
No. That's a line that's put in there by the finance. I haven't really dealt with it before. I haven't hired a secretary, but I will be here just as soon as we get the interviews done.
Yeah, but Laura, doesn't she have to, she has to accumulate so many years before she gets benefit buyout?
Yeah, that's for your personal days and holidays. So depending on when he hires, I mean, it probably won't be at the same rate, but
Right.
depending if he hires that person before the end of this year,
Why would it be buyout at the end of the year if it's for vacations or sick?
Really, well, because they can only get it at the end of the year. They don't get it in the middle of the year. But it's only for the holidays and the personal days.
What number's that account? 029.
029.
So I guess my question, Laura, is, after they're entitled to vacation after their probation, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and that would be 3 months or 30 days? 6 months. Okay.
Yeah,
That would be figured into their salary.
correct. This is for the 2 floating holidays, your birthday and your personal days, if you don't use them. He had to budget for the secretary that he currently had when we started the budgeting.
Correct.
That's why it's what it is. But he probably won't spend that, is my opinion. But if he does hire somebody before December 31st, they're entitled to the holidays and the personal days next year.
Yeah, but that should be all figured in to their salary.
It is, but if they don't take them, they can buy them out at the end of the year. But most,
It'll come out of their salary line, not a.
not if
Should
you
be
work,
buyout.
if you work the floating holidays, you get paid for them at the end of the year, so you're basically getting that doubled. Most departments utilize that, but some don't. He's doing worst case scenario.
John, do you have something to say?
Just that if I'll need the money if I hire someone this coming year, which I'll be hiring someone before the end of the year. So this is being for next year. That person will be working the whole year, and this will be in effect.
Right.
Well, that benefit buyout, that doesn't cover John too?
That's the same benefit buyout though.
Yeah,
029,
029.
Is benefit buyout.
Yeah, for the building department.
Correct. If he chooses not to
Yeah,
keep
but
them off,
it's not
he
just,
can use it as well.
it's not just for the secretary.
It doesn't have to be
No, it's for any employee in
in that department.
there. Right. I mean, I have a problem with those accounts myself, but that's the way we do it, so. I think that should be done like our retirement accounts. Should be in the administration. But that's the way it is now. That's what it is.
Nothing else, gentlemen? I'll take a motion to approve the building department's budget of $109,156 for the year 2021.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody want to second that motion?
I'll second.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Holt, approve the building department's budget of $109,156 for 2021. Second by Mr. Rochelle. Any further discussion? I'll poll the board. Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald? Yes. Mr. Wentworth, yes. Vote is in the affirmative. John, thank you for tuning in this evening, and hope to see you soon.
Thank you very much. You have a good evening.
You too, sir.
So have a good evening.
So at this time, we'll move on to solid waste will not be in tonight. They could not make it, so we'll move on to number 4, Police Department, 4210. Chief, if you'd like to join us tonight. Well, you joined us tonight. If you'd like to come up and sit with us.
This,
Gentlemen, I wasn't here that night that the chief presented the budget, but I did go and talk to Liz about it and went over a few things. So if you gentlemen have anything you'd like to ask the chief or the chief would like to add at this point. As you notice, it's just a little slight over what we had last year. The
48,860. Does that sound correct?
about 3%, I think.
can you refresh my mind here, chief? 269.
Yes, investigations was, one of the only other lines that had an increase besides payroll-related items.
Yeah.
Under investigations, what that is there's a $3,700 a year maintenance fee that was tacked on to our, it's a service fee for the Celebrate machine, which the Celebrate machine was the one we bought for dumping cell phones. So it has to have current updates every
That's
year.
paying for itself.
Yes.
Any other questions for the chief, gentlemen?
Yes, I had one more thing, Mr. Chairman. On that career development, 109,
Yes.
you've cut that in about half.
Yes, what that was is, there was, money in there before for, remember, we had that big discussion
Yeah.
last year about how we were gonna handle it in the future moving forward. So there was money in there for, a second program that didn't end up being utilized. The individual that was approved for it that year had his third baby, and there's no going to school on top of that. So, we had pulled that out, but the existing 7,000 is the last year of one agreement that was already in place. This will be the last year for that one. And then we won't have any other contracts in place.
Thank you. I'm all set, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Rochelle?
All set, no questions?
Mr. Whitman?
No.
Mr. McDonald? All right, gentlemen, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion,
Get the bottom line.
go ahead.
Make a motion, we approve the police budget for the 1.277.
And 25.
125.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Motion been made by Mr. McDonald to approve the police department's budget of $1,277,125 for the year 2021, second by Paul Rochelle. Any further discussion? I'll poll the board. Mr. Whitman?
Yeah.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald? Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth? Yes. Vote is affirmative. Chief, thank you.
Thank you.
I do have to say, you're the only two department heads right now, but thank you for trying to keep your budgets in line.
Yep.
Thank you.
I will relay that to the other department heads. I don't want you to just think you two are the privileged ones here tonight. Thank you, gentlemen. We're gonna go right on to chief. You might as well stay. We're going on emergency meeting. 4290. We were staying. Because your budget's down a little bit, but we understand emergency management with everything we're going through too, and you don't know what you're gonna face next year.
Right, and really, that's the only thing I have to add about
Yeah.
that budget. We spoke a little bit about it when I originally presented it. The $10,000 is in there sort of as an unknown going into the new year as to what we're gonna face for expenses. We have recovered all of our money from the CARES Act right now. If this continues, I anticipate there will be some other funding opportunities out there, but I'm not sure what there's gonna be yet, so.
Who knows what we're gonna run into next.
Right.
Plus, we have to replace the signs that we put out there this year. If we have to put those back again, that came out in the emergency management account too, if I remember right, Craig? A lot of the signs you put up around town, 6 foot socializing just down at the bay,
Oh, yes, yes.
those came out of there.
Yes, absolutely, all that came out.
In case we have to replace them, there's no funding that would be in there for them.
I
Gentlemen,
think COVID stuff, it was an eye opener
Yeah.
to make sure you have some.
and that's still kind of small. You think it's
Oh, yeah.
overall for emergency management, but what could happen in our community?
Who knows what next year brings?
Make a motion that we approve emergency management at $11,003.
I'll second that, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by made by Virgil McDonald to approve the emergency management budget of $11,003 for the 2021 year. Second by Mr. Holt. Any further discussion? Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. Vote is the affirmative. Chief, it is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Then we'll move on to Highway Department.
Mr. Chairman, he's in his truck. Somebody wants to call him to come in.
Anybody have his number?
You don't need me for anything else, right?
As far as I know, sir, no, sir.
If you want, I will tap on his window.
Fabulous.
Okay.
Well,
I'll hold the door. Yeah.
while we're waiting for Mr.,
I can call him.
I was thinking while we're waiting for Mr. Roberts, you folks wanted to jump down to C. Short-term interest for borrowing, patriotic services, Gilman Museum, street lighting and welfare.
You want to come up?
Make a motion, we approve
Okay.
short-term interest
Okay, bye.
for $1.
Second. Made by Mr. McDonald to approve the short-term interest for $1, second by Mr. Whitman. Do I have any discussion? I'll poll the board. Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth? Yes. Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Vote is affirmative. Patriotic Services, 4583.
Motion, we approve patriotic services for the $16,743.
Second. Motion been made by Ms. McDonald to approve patriotic service, $16,743, second by Mr. Whitman. Any discussion? And just in case anybody asks out there in the public, I'll just mention it's $16,743. It is down roughly $6,000 from last year, and that's because we continued over our fireworks to hold over the money till the coming year.
Yep.
Nothing else being said, I'll poll the board. Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Vote in the affirmative. Patriotic services are approved. Okay, at this time, we have Mr. Roberts with us. If you join us at the table, we'll run on the budget. Mr. Roberts, how are you tonight?
Such a lovely evening. Play the game.
Gentlemen, we reviewed Mr. Roberts' budget. I know I stated 2 weeks ago, at the last budget hearing, after we had building and grounds up, I did not recommend their position, but I would be willing to recommend a position from the highway department. Mr. Roberts was looking for 2, a laborer and a truck driver. I talked to Mr. Roberts since that night, and I'd be willing to go with the truck driver's position now, only because if he has a driver out, this driver would be able to fill in for that driver. If a light equipment operator was out or something like that, he'd be able to fill in for that person. So I am willing to go for the full-time driver's position.
Both. Just one, just for the truck driver position,
I think that's what me.
not the laborer.
That's what, if I remember our conversation right, Ken?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman?
So, yes, if I may, the only thing is that I know, I heard part of your discussion, Parks and Rec director, and, so we have no one that they should borrow unless the truck driver is not working. So I'm not sure how that's gonna work out with that, just to mention that.
Well, I'm hoping that if you don't have a truck for that individual at that point in time, and you're doing other things, I looked at it as a truck driver / laborer, but all your guys do the laboring too, with that extra position. And as we had talked about the School Street, Pine Street coming up, it goes out to bid, and we end up hiring that out privately, which I think you're gonna recommend to the board. You would have the time next year to be working in the bay, possibly on the sidewalk down there, the brick sidewalk, stuff like that. Well, not you, because you ended us your retirement, but the new person coming in that position. So other work could be done, but with that other work, maybe 1 or 2 of you guys could, if somebody is needed that day, could go over to building grounds and help them out for a day or 2.
Okay, just mention the overall picture, and, you've only got a little bit of it. We moved the CIPs around a little bit, so purchase a new truck will be next year. That would be for that driver. If this failed, then it would be taken out of the CIP. If you're adding a driver, we're gonna add a truck. And the reason we're gonna add the truck is because you have 2 roads about to come in for adoption. In adding the truck and the driver, what I would do is go back in here and under contract plowing, remove it out of the budget, which is like $13,000. So you're gonna get a truck, you're gonna remove the contract plower, it'll be all taken care of by the highway department. So if you did that, then we'd be on a good page. The two roads coming in are big roads. And you got the High Point, as soon as Brad gets straightened out, that's coming to you. Planning board just released the other one.
Well, we haven't released it yet.
And that's, yeah, I heard there were some funny stipulations, and that's a different story, but.
It's coming.
But, yeah, that's coming down the pipe.
Is that Hopewell?
Yeah, and that's a two-phase thing. One is they built to the specifications of allowed by the Board of Selectmen back then, the Class 6 road, and brought it up to a Class 5 standard. And then built the rest of the road exactly that way. So, when that comes in, that adds 1 point some odd miles to the town. That's 2 lane miles. That's a lot to take care of during the winter. So that's why we shuffle things around in the CIPs. When you get to that, you'll be able to see that, to be able to purchase this truck and then remove that contract plower completely. It's gonna be a plus thing. I think it's gonna be a plus for the highway department. And then you'll have a driver, you'll have a truck that's available for him, especially during the winter. Now, we've bought 24/7. They take breaks in the garage. Other than that, they're here from beginning to end of storm. Not like other places. We don't shut down at 8 o'clock and come back in at 4 o'clock. And people expect that, because we have people that go to work at midnight. You know, I've heard more comments about somebody gets out at 1 o'clock in the morning for something in the road spot. How did you do it?
Oh, yeah.
So we don't want to mess that up. I mean, we've got a rapport with everybody, and I think, you know, the guys have done a very good job. I think if you do this, then when you look at the CIPs, you'll be able to see that as well. I wish that we could have seen that somewhere along the line prior to this full discussion.
Well, that should be coming right in.
So that's the two-phase thing, would be, if you approve the truck driver, then I would say get rid of the contract plow out of the budget.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
After studying this budget and our discussions with the additional employees, we've already approved one for the fire department. We've approved one for Parks and Rec.
We took Parks and Recs out.
Took Parks and Rec.
Excuse me. Yeah, excuse me. We took Parks and Rec out. But we left the 2 here.
Well, we didn't leave it to, yeah.
I mean, no. There's 2 here in this proposed budget.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a firm believer that whenever you add employees, you increase your employment pay or payroll. And it's continuous every year. It doesn't shrink again. It's not like buying a new truck. You don't buy it the next year. And we give out pay raises every year pretty generously. We have a generous employment package.
Yeah, but you can't say that we give out generously, because we went.
Well, could I finish, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir. Virgil, hold on a minute. Let me
So I was going to make a motion tonight to, our chairman's already kind of led us in that direction, to not approve the part-time laborer, or the laborer position, just to approve the truck driver. And I think we can make it work. I think Kenny can make it work. And as far as that snow removal contracts, we never really spent much money out of that in the past, to the best of my knowledge.
Wait a minute, Mr. Chairman.
As soon as I know, Mr. Holden. You asking a question?
Yeah, I'm asking.
Roberts, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, in the past we haven't been able to get anybody to bid on it. We left it in there to go out to bid it again, but when we decided to put the truck driver in play, if it was approved by the board, then we would remove the contract power completely. So we're gonna take that completely out, so that I think it's 13.
It's
13,200.
So I would say, if you approve the truck driver, I'd take that completely out of the picture, and that would help pay for the truck driver as well.
Yeah, plus, you know, he's coming in, you've got a truck sitting there ready to go.
That's it. Well, it's gonna be the rate they're building right now.
Mhm.
I understand the dump.
3 years from
box is
now.
on the six-wheeler, so we're going up tomorrow to check if we can just pay. So Warren's on his way up to make sure.
Body's on it.
Supposedly it's on it, Warren's on his way up to check it out prior to going to paint in case there's any modifications.
Wow.
That's six-wheeler. Now, the ten-wheeler is here, the chassis is already here. And we're still waiting to see if they're gonna have the equipment to put on it when they can grab it. So the chassis are coming in, it's the equipment we're having trouble.
So we might make it for snow season after all.
March,
Maybe.
April.
We're doing better. We're doing a little better anyways.
Yep.
That's right, we're getting there. So if this approved to go out in March, I'd have, before I left, I'd have all these bid specifications set up, ready to go.
What is the increase of the full-time driver?
Well,
Here, if you'd like to, without the 15,000, you can pass those around, that's actually with the driveway.
If you took out the labor's position throughout the snowplow contracting, but left the full-time truck driver, you're looking at $1,350,019. And all he did was subtract the labor position of $32,198 and the contract plowing of $13,200 brings it down to $1,350,019.
15?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
if you look in the backup, there's overtime money.
The overtime, if you remember at the meeting when I was sitting there, I wasn't too worried about the overtime, only because the overtime, if you look at what they spent last year during the winter time, we only budget normally about 10% of the salaries for overtime. That's usually been the golden rule, and that's really pushing a fine line. So the overtime line did not bother me. I know it's in there for the two positions. The overtime did not bother me, only because we're only looking at $9,000 more. That $9,000, I think, could go a long ways in case we have a bad winter or ice dams, ice storms, or frozen culverts that Ken goes out at night or his crew goes out at night and unthaws. So I don't mind leaving that $9,000 in there for that. Plus, the other increases in the budget was due to the winter sand, and contracts for that have gone up.
It's $5 a yard.
You gotta remember too, is we cut with the sand a few years
It
ago.
was gravel that we had been cutting back on,
Oh, gravel, yeah.
because he was making his own gravel. So,
And just a long-term picture of this thing,
If you want to see.
in the CIPs is $30,000 to put it for rock crushing. By the time we get the next phase of it, $30,000 next year, we're ready to crush. Again. I think I have about 2,500 yards of.
Bobby,
You would save a lot of money by doing it this
We've
way.
got one going around.
Big time,
Yeah.
big time.
I mean, that would be my recommendation to the.
What was that new figure, Mr. Chairman?
$1,350,000?
$1,350,019. And I don't know if Laura double checked my figures or not on that.
He did, and that was leaving the snow removal at $1.
Yes, I did not leave the snow
Yeah, but you
contract at $1, but I want to leave it at $1, yes.
Yeah, that'd be,
Still get the same figure.
so it's $1,350,000.
$350,000.
$19.
19. 019.
That's,
Pass that back around to Ken.
The contracted plow.
You have to reduce it by $1. Well, when we make the motion to approve, if you gentlemen are satisfied with the $1,350,019, you have to just put in your motion that would remove this contract snow plow at $1, and it would eliminate the new full-time labor's position.
Second. You said it.
That was good.
So well.
Motion is made by Mr. Wentworth to recommend the $1,350,019 for 2021 Highway Department budget, eliminating the new full-time labor's position and reducing the snow plowing contract services to $1 from $13,200. Second by Mr. McDonald.
Second, oh, we've already got the
Second by
second.
Mr. McDonald, I'll open the floor for discussion. Mr. Roberts.
You know, we beat this around a little bit, we've been seriously talking about it. I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Paul asked me about public.
I don't know why you're still young.
We and I talked about public works director. That's not in this budget. Question is, will it be in this budget, or are you gonna create something different for the public works director? My salary is in this budget. Now, by the time I leave and you hire, you may get it, you may hire him a lot more money, but sure, 3 months is paying me. If you know what I mean.
No, I hear what you're
So
saying.
you're gonna hire him only for 9 months, but again, whether or not you're gonna have enough funds there for a public works director. It's a whole lot different title, but it's a whole lot different look at things. It depends how you and the board are gonna look at what you think a public works director is really gonna do.
Well, to me, if we're gonna hire a public works director, then Kelly and stuff we can eliminate.
Mr. Chairman, let's not get in that discussion tonight. We're not here to discuss that tonight. We're here to discuss the highway department as presented to us. I think the conversation for this public works director should come up at another meeting later on.
Right. Could we schedule that?
If we have to amend the budget, we will amend the budget. But at this point, I don't want to make any
Hasty decisions.
Rash.
comments right now that would either upset department heads or get rumored out of here and go fourfold what they really actually said. So I really rather stay with what we have recommended right now. And when we meet, and because we do have to meet soon on this,
Yes.
Roberts has given us this notice and for April. The end of the year is coming. It's going to take 30 days to go out and advertise for what we decide, what we want to do, whether it's a highway agent, highway foreman, whatever, or public works director. We have to decide. It's going to take 30 full days to review that. If we start that in December, January comes, we review all the application, you're at February. February, hopefully we'll hire someone, because Mr. Roberts would like to sit with him for 30 days and show him what he has done for the last some odd years, to show him where things started and where he's going to leave them in their hands. And I think it'd be a nice way to turn over that highway department, seeing he's led that department, one of the longest department heads we've had in the community for quite some time.
So I don't think you're giving yourself enough time, because you can put it out for 30 days. Time you get done your application, if you get applications, it's gonna take you 30 days to go through them and interview.
Then we have to, then we,
You might not get any applications either, depending on the qualifications you put down.
But
Before you make any hasty decisions about anything else within the town, I would take a serious look at existing public works directors and what they do. Mike Fowler's a good example.
Yeah.
Mike Fowler is an independent public works director. He has department heads and everything underneath him. Public works director is the man you go to when you got problems. That's the guy that's gonna go get you grants. There's so many grants out there, it's unbelievable, but I'm not a grant writer. But are you gonna hire a public works director that has the ability to do grant writing? When someone has a problem, who do they go to? Go to the public works director, and the reason they're going to a public works director is 99% of the time, he has the knowledge, and if he doesn't, then he gets to do the research to do the answer. So before you do that, I think I would call Meredith, talk to Mike. There's a few other public works directors around, talk to see what's going on, because again, they are the top key. What's above them would be the town administrator. They are the top key, but if I went to the town administrator and says, well, what do I do in a case like this? Can I use geotech fabric on 7% slope? That's not an answer that she would do, but if I went to a public works director, as a department head, and asked that,
or you go
and
to
if
the
he
department
didn't
head
know,
down the
then he
highway,
would go to somebody and get the answer.
or you go to the highway department at the director of that, without having a public works director. You go to the road, you go down to the road agent.
No. If the road agent or whoever you have down there comes up and asks that question, I have the answer for it. I
And
know
he
what it is.
calls the state or wherever he's gotta do the research.
That's why you go to the public works director. He's the one that sits back.
He does the research.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
One second.
All right.
But Mr. McDonald and Mr.
But I would just say, call and see what the other public works directors do, and it'll give you an idea.
I think you should put on a warrant article.
Mr. Chairman?
Oh, I think this board has to decide what direction we're gonna go in. To start off,
July and November, this will be brought up for discussion, first meeting in November.
first meeting in November.
I'm gonna try to have that on the agenda for the first meeting.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
and I would like to say that I'm really seriously thinking Kenny's right. we do need a public works director. At this time, that's my opinion. I think we all should really think hard about it. It's a new position, but I think it'll make everything run a lot smoother in the long run.
We've looked into it a little bit and discussed it a little bit.
Yep.
It does make sense.
Paul asked me the question, can you justify to the taxpayers, Public Works Director? Let me justify this. I'm about to complete 4 miles of road, under $1 million, averaged by Jimmy Locke, and you can go see Coleman, go
Any
see
of them.
everybody and find out what it is. Jimmy told me it's 1.2 million. Just saved you $3.6 million. Is it justified to have a Public Works Director? Here's your justification. And you have the talent to do the work. Sometimes they need a little guidance. They have a question to ask. And they need somebody there that will answer that question or find out what the answer of it is. So, not to get too much further into that, also, I'm not here the first 2.5 weeks in November, just to let you know.
The other thing coming along with that, when you do that, folks, if this is the way if this is the way the board wants to go and present it to the people, you have to have a highway foreman, then you need to have an assistant highway foreman. So some of the salary could change in between. At least I feel you should have a second person in command down there. So, I mean, these are my ideas. I don't know what your ideas are. But I think it's something you folks need to think about. So I guess it's going to be the 3rd week in November now that we're going to look at discuss this, because this Rob's gone for the first 2 weeks. He just notified, and I feel he should be here to give us his knowledge. So I guess it'll be the 3rd week we'll be discussing this. And hopefully we'll meet the following week after, and hopefully come up with some ideas and plan to figure out how we're going to do this. But we should not start any later than the summer doing this. So, there's a time frame. 30 days.
Time is of the essence.
30 days out puts you into January. January, you go through the resumes, you get your interviews done. February, hopefully you figure out who you want. March, you have them on for a month. At least that would be my plan. Because there's a lot in Alton on roadways, catch basins, different departments that have to be lawn and turned over, because I'm sure there's some things Kenny has in his Bible somewhere that a lot of department heads don't know about. And they go to him to find out where it's at.
Everybody goes to him.
Consulting fees over $100 an hour.
Really, we could use you as the,
So at this time, I'd like to see us approve the budget as it is right now, or what I'm recommending. And then if we have to amend the budget, and if Mr. McDonald feels that the Public Works Director needs to go before the people, then that's fine. That money can be added in at that time there, if it gets approved. If not, then the selectmen know that the town of Alton wants to stay with the highway agent. We'll already have the monies there. So I don't know what your feelings are at that point, but that was my plan of thinking forward of this position.
I think we should go that route.
In the case of knowledge, hasn't come in, the secretary's done already. She's on.
Harry?
So
We went.
things might be a little turmoil down there for everybody, finance, everybody.
Are we having secretaries this year?
Did this just come about, or you had no notice of it?
Comes at 3.
I don't
Already start advertising?
I haven't gotten to you guys.
Okay.
I got more than 2 weeks notice.
Get pretty hard on secretaries.
Excuse me?
Did you already start advertising?
Yeah, actually, I have 4 applications on my desk right now, and we're set up for interviews. And as I'm discussing this, I don't know if I should throw this out at this time. Carrie has not volunteered, but we can pay her to come in the evenings to help me do the interviews. And she'll come in on Saturdays until somebody gets a handle on who we may hire, if we're willing to pay her.
Yeah, because it ain't easy now.
I think that's something you need to bring before the town administrator, and have the town administrator bring it before us. I don't think we should make that decision here. It should go before the town administrator.
So was this sudden?
know about people leaving hiring.
Well, 2 weeks ago when he got his notice, it might have been after we had already met, the budget hearing, budget meeting. We just last week it did not get brought up to us.
Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I don't know why we couldn't have been emailed on it. I discovered it myself through rumors. I also heard another rumor that Parks and Rec secretary is leaving.
I want to nip this in the bud. We're not here to discuss about employees leaving. If a truck driver gets done, I'm sorry to see them get done, or secretary, I'm sorry to get them done. Hopefully they're going on to something bigger and brighter. But as far as the selectmen being notified every time an employee leaves, unless it's the department head, I really don't know if we need to be notified unless at the meeting. But the emails sent out to me, I really don't want to email every time someone either gets upset with the department head or they're giving you a notice. I think it can be brought before a meeting saying, town administrator saying, since we got a letter of resignation from the highway secretary today, you're done in 2 weeks, Mr. Roberts has already gone out in advertising. I hear a lot of rumors in town. I don't listen to them. I hear them, but I don't listen to them unless I go see the department heads and ask them directly.
That's also not working that way, because we're not being told by the administrator.
Well,
I disagree with you too, Mr. Chairman. We're not being told.
all right, and that's for another time. We're here to discuss the highway department's budget tonight. There's a motion on the table of $1,350,019. It's been seconded by Mr. McDonald for discussion. We've had our discussion. We got a little further out that discussion what we should, so I'm gonna call for a vote. Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes, both in affirmative. Thank you, Mr. Roberts.
And if I may, she is going to work for Public Works Director, maybe I can get a job description from her of the guy she's with.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Department budget presentation, household hazardous waste, 4326. I believe you said Laura's here.
She's down.
All right.
Downstairs now.
While you go downstairs, I'm gonna move on to Gilman Museum. Just to let you know.
Hey, Ken,
Yes.
can you send us Sarah downstairs?
She's in the hiking room.
Thank you.
Trying to move on a little bit more where we have a few minutes.
What are you doing?
Gilman.
Gilman Museum.
It's, 4575.
Thought we approved that, no? No?
Yes, sir.
Make a motion, we approve the $8,087 for Gilman Museum budget.
I'll second.
Motion's made to approve the Gilman Museum budget of $8,087 by Ms. McDonald, second by Paul Rochelle. Any discussion? I'll poll the board. Ms. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes, both in the affirmative. Next one would be streetlights.
Motion that we cut $500 out of street lights to start.
Motion made by Mr. McDonald to cut out $500 from the streetlight budget to start. I would recommend against that. Well, I need a second first.
I'll second it for discussion.
Motion made and seconded by Mr. Holt. I'll start off the discussion. My discussion against that is no. Me and Mr. Rochelle went out to start reviewing streetlights. There were several duplications in the list. Mary and Stacy are working to redefine that list, to get it down so there's only single lights. To say you're gonna cut 500 out, you have to go out and find out which light you're gonna cut.
That's right.
That's very hard to do.
It's gonna be hard to do.
And we spent 2 hours going from at the intersection of 28A to the end of the cemetery. We spent 2 hours doing that and checking the poll numbers and everything else. So that's gonna take a little bit longer than that. And what I'm asking is say, give us the year, come back during the middle of summer with a recommendation what lights should be turned off. But I would say, let's leave the street lighting budget alone as is for right now.
Mr. Chairman, I agree. It's gonna take time to go through all the streetlights and figure out which ones that we do not need.
2 hours on 28.
Oh, yeah, it's,
We have,
and we didn't finish.
we have them down there, they're in people's yards.
We can't just cut.
Or their driveways, and they're in private houses doing their driveways. And it shouldn't be.
If you wanted to say leave it level funded, I'll go with you, leave it level funded with it. But there's an increase because of the rates that are coming in, I believe.
Level funded is the 33.
Yes, sir. 500.
That's what I was doing.
I know, but I'm just saying, that's the rate, that 500 was a rate increase that is coming. That's why the 500 went up.
Yeah, that was.
Plus with the 2 roads that are coming up, which is Hopewell and High Point, you're gonna have street lights on them also, that what the town will have to take over. Because right now, if there's lights there, they're on private roads, we cannot pay for.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
My original comment on this budget was the Bay Area. That's where I had a concern with the street lighting.
And we got the answer on that.
Well, yeah. But I think we should look into that. I'm not happy with that answer.
What the answer, because all the park lights were running off the meter on the bandstand?
Oh,
That's not part of the lighting budget. That comes out the water, that comes out the land bandstand's budget.
Those are all brand-new, high-efficiency streetlights.
No, what he's referring to, I believe, was the town administrator talked to the electric companies
Yeah.
about what could be done with the lights that were down in the bay now, currently. Remember, we got the letter on that.
Right.
And that, the lights that they had there were all already on timers and dimmers and so on and so forth, that they already have that under control. That way, there really wasn't anything that we could do differently with those lights. And if we eliminate one, we eliminate them all.
Well, the deal was, when we crossed that parking lot across the street, when we put those high-efficiency streetlights in, the ones in the parking lot were gonna be shut off, and we were gonna have the ones on the sidewalk, the street lamps, and the ones across the street are supposed to throw a light shadow across there, and they do. And they were supposed to shut all the ones going down the parking lot out,
All the time?
all the time. They were supposed to be shut down.
The motion is on,
The parking lot, that was the idea of spending the money we did for the lights across where we did the parking.
the motion was on the floor to reduce the street lighting budget by $500, level fund at $33,500 by Mr. McDonald, seconded by Mr. Whitman, was it?
Mr. Holt.
Mr. Holt. Is there any further discussion?
I too tried to, drive around town. This could take
Takes a long
forever.
time.
It
Takes
could
a long
take
time.
forever.
It's gonna take time.
I'll hold the board, Mr. McDonald.
We're at the 33,000?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Well, we're at your motion right now to reduce by $500 to $33,000.
yes.
Mr. Whitman,
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle,
No.
Mr. Holt,
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, no. Vote is in the affirmative, 3-4-2 against. Mr. Rochelle, Mr. Wentworth opposed, Mr. McDonald, Mr. Whitman, and Mr. Holt in favor. So now I'll call for a motion on the street lighting budget of $33,000 for 2021.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion made Mr. Wentworth to approve the budget of $33,000 for street lighting for 2021, second by Mr. Holt. Any discussion? I'll poll the board. Ms. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
No.
Mr. Wentworth? No. Motion passes 3-2, 3 in favor are Mr. Holt, Mr. McDonald, Mr. Whitman. Opposed is Mr. Rochelle and Mr. Wentworth. Okay, at this time, gentlemen, we're going to go back to department presentation, household hazardous waste. You come up and join us, young lady, that would be fabulous. What number? Household hazardous waste? 4326, right after.
4326.
Her has come before us tonight to present her budget of household hazardous waste days. It has gone up $11,050 from $80,700 last year to $91,750. And it's my understanding in reading the lines, it has to do with Clean Harbor, Safe Harbor going up on their rates on you primarily.
Yes,
True?
a new 3-year contract, yes,
Now, what did 320 this?
30%. It would be $27,524.91. May I pass these?
Yes, ma'am.
This is, there are two handouts here, they're stapled together, and it shows our current, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Now, Ruben, can I ask you a question
I do.
on this?
Yes, sir.
Why do we have the budget for the 91,700?
Well, I don't know. I'm gonna hopefully ask Laura to tell us that one. Maybe she can answer it without Liz being here, because I was thinking the same thing.
Okay, did you want me to?
Yeah, if Sarah, if you can explain it, that would be fabulous.
Yes, okay. Before I get into the portion, let me just explain the handout, and I have one other handout. In spite of the COVID, we have, if you look at across the Alton, 169 people have attended so far. This coming Saturday is our last collection. The last Saturday collection is always the heaviest attended. If last year at this time, there were 160 people that had attended by the end of September. So we haven't slowed down at all. I think it's because people have been home and cleaning up. And the last 2 pages just tell you the total for the town over the years, so you can just compare what we're doing this year with previous years. So we keep continuing to be busy, and a few ups and downs, but you never seem to go very far down. The intent is important. The budget is divided by actual use, percentage of use.
Yeah.
Historically, Wilkesboro usually has about 70% of the attendees, and Alton has approximately 30%. So when we're planning for the budget, we plan for 70% to be the responsibility of Wilkesboro and 30% to be the responsibility of Alton, and it usually comes out pretty good. For my budget this year, I have one line item that I zeroed out. I had three that reduced, 13%, 32%, or 45%. 9 are the same. 5 have to do with wages of employment, workers' comp, FICA, and Medicare have gone up slightly. But the only one that's really jumped is my contract. This handout, I went over 16 years. We started in 2002, and I went over, I think that's one of my notes on it.
Yep.
Sorry. And I went over 16 years of contracts, and we tried very hard to contain costs. And in October of 2019, the LRHHPF Stewart Board met a number of times with Clean Harbors and other vendors, consulted what was going on with other household hazardous waste collections in the area. I attend quarterly meetings of hazardous waste site coordinators for the whole state. So we find out what's going well, who is a good vendor, who isn't. They had a vendor at LRPC that didn't perform well the first 2 years, the third-year contract, and abandoned the third year. There's no way I'd consider them. We talked to Tredevi, which is another company. I did an actual comparison of my August bill for last year. They were 15% more. That did not even include supplies, drums, flex bins, et cetera, personal protective equipment. And they had some other issues. They were under administrative order for the state of New Hampshire, which means they screwed up something. Severe enough that they were taking fire foam for the fire department for nothing. So they owed a lot of money to the state of New Hampshire, was working it off, basically. They don't have permanent personnel, they hire temp, so you have no continuity.
That's the problem.
And they only have, like a depot down at Sprague Oil on the south end of, the bridge in Newington. If you look to the left, I didn't feel comfortable with a lot of those things. And, they had temporary personnel in, ACB where they didn't perform well. And so, our waste hauler is the generator, so it's on them. But if they mess up your site, it's on me. So we went and we talked to them, and if you look here, the prices have been going up continually, and the companies have been getting bought out, and so there are very few companies now. When LRPC puts out an RFP, some years they've got one response, some years they get 2, almost never 3. In the beginning, it was like a 4% increase each year. And then we have recovery fee. Recovery fee is an additional percentage that is assessed on your setup fee and your actual disposal. So if you look here, you will see that the first 3 years it was a 4% increase each year, and recovery fee went from 3 to 6 to 9. Then in 2011 to 2023, it was a 9% fixed fee, and that actually, recovery fee actually didn't change again until 2018. We enjoyed that for 7 years. And it was 3 years of 2% increases, then it went to 3. 2018, they said, well, we're losing money here on these 3-year contracts because it's not really keeping up with the actual increases. So we got a 6% increase for the first year, then we could enjoy 3%, top of the 6. the following 2 years, and the recovery fee was fixed at 10%. Then EPA put in a manifest fee. It started out as $10 in 2019, it went to $20 in 2020. They haven't changed it. We're not predicting they aren't predicting what changed, but who knows? Then we came to our contract for this year, and they went up 10%, which I almost choked on, I have to say. But we talked them into the 3 and 3, and it's going to be a 13% fixed recovery rate. In all honesty, if you look back up in 2014 to 2017, that recovery fee was actually 16.5% to 21% if you didn't have a contract. So we're really doing well to get a fixed recovery fee. So that's where it's all about, is our increase.
Now I have a question for you.
We sure do.
91,750 is Wolfboro and Alton put together.
Correct.
Go to Wolfboro and they come up with 91,750?
No, they come up with 64,224.79.
Yeah, your question, Mr. McDonald, I believe is getting to. Does Wolfboro vote on the 91,750, or do they vote on the 64,000?
They vote on their portion,
All right, so
and you vote on your portion.
all right, so we should not be voting on a $91,750 budget.
You're absolutely correct.
We're voting on
1,524.91.
Right.
The 91,750 is the overall budget for the Household Hazardous Waste Committee.
Correct.
Lakes Region Household Hazardous Waste Product Facility. We're just, I believe probably this might have been a little miscommunication on this, that the whole budget got presented, this is how it got formatted into us. So, and I think that's what's happened over the last few years. So our tax rate is based off that 91,750.
Right, that's why I'm asking.
It is not.
Well, web
This
com,
is one of
Wait a
the
minute, let me
sub-accounts.
finish.
This is a sub-account, that's why it's a 3- number. So
Okay.
this budget exactly is not in your general budget.
Okay,
It has one line in the general budget, which will be your $20,000
okay.
number. That is what you're raising funds on.
and we should be voting on 27,500.
Correct, but I think what she wants you to see is her budget and how she comes up with your $24,000 number.
So when we vote tonight, we're only voting on 24,000, not 91.
Correct.
Okay.
Make a motion that we approve the 27,524.91 for household hazardous waste budget for Alton.
Second.
Open it for discussion. Can I have just a moment here? Town does not budget in cents, so it should be rounded up to $27,525, because we don't do it in cents on the budget.
Change my motion to $27,525.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. McDonald to approve the Lakes Region Household Hazardous Waste Product Facility Alton share of 30% of $27,525. Second by Mr. Whitman. Do I have any discussion or any questions for Sarah? Being none, I'll poll the board. Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. Sarah, before you go, the vote's affirmative. I just want to let you know, thank you for your time and your dedication
Yes.
to the Household Hazardous Waste Days. I know it's not an easy job, but you do put a lot of time and effort into it, and you've had quite a few years doing it. I just want to say,
31.
on behalf of the taxpayers,
31 years.
God love you.
on behalf of the taxpayers of the town of Alton and myself, thank you very much for a job well done.
Thank you.
Very good.
Good job.
I like to tell people I started when I was 3. They know better. I have to say that, I always wish that I could reach more people, and we try very hard, but we can't always get it in the paper. I did
Right.
grab the paper downstairs, and they did put it in this month, but they didn't put it in for the second or the third Saturday last month, but we try very hard to get it out there. And, I just have a quick question for Josh.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your support.
We're going to move on to ambulance next. The chief would like to come up and join us again. Then approve.
And it's not. So it's
There we go. Chief is requesting out of the revolving fund, 131, 151, if I'm not mistaken.
This is representing another 4% increase, so it's the fire budget. Basically, the entire increase is consumable items. This year, we actually put some other things off because of how many consumable items and how much PPE we had to buy due to the state of emergency.
You've got medication pumps. We just bought them not too long ago.
Which one, are you looking at?
201. New equipment, 201.
201.
We just bought them medication pumps. That were supposed to be good for, what, 7 or 8?
They're gonna be good for a long time. Yeah, we're not buying, that's just left in there from last year. But there is consumable items that go with those, there's maintenance items that go with it and things like that as well. Yeah, that number was just left in there from last year, I apologize for that.
Chief, can you tell me what's in your revolving fund right now?
Coach. Well, we just had, can you help me with that? Because we just had some stuff. There was a change in the account. It went from money market and things like that. So some extra money got put in to help with that change and some money. I don't know if it's all out, so I don't know.
We leave a money market account and go into more of an investment?
That is beyond me, because I didn't know about it. It happened, and then I got some statements, and I want to say it's like 625.
I had 681 at the last,
681,000?
yeah.
Chief, a question for you, and I'll go to fleet lease purchase, $47,000. That's for the 2 ambulances that,
That's for one of the ambulances.
where's the other one coming out of? Is already paid?
The other one was paid for before I came.
My next question is, we are, and I know this is a nice sum right now we have here in this account. It doesn't take long to chew up 681,000 when you're talking ambulance or a municipality.
Right.
We are making sure we're setting $50,000 aside a year for lease. 5 years, 6 years, make sure we have the money just to buy a new ambulance.
Yes. That is.
Because that was my goal when we went into this. When we bought the first ambulance, we start saving $50,000 a year if we could.
Yeah.
So when it came time to replace that one in 10 years, we just were able to go out and buy it.
So another thing I've been looking at, for the longevity plan, is taking the box we have and remounting it onto a new chassis, because it's really the chassis that gets worn out. The box in the back, as long as it's working, and all the equipment is working within it.
Right.
Kind of refurbish, put it on, you save about $100,000 by doing it.
I myself,
7 years out of the truck.
I'm against capital reserve funds or adding any new ones. But I would still like to see the fire department go to the town administrator, request the board of selectmen set up a special capital reserve account for new ambulance. So every year, if you have a sum like this at the end of the year, you take 50,000 and put in there. So at the end of that 10 years or 8 years, you have the money just to say, selectmen, I have the money. It's right here. I want to go purchase a new cabin, chassis.
When we set that up, I thought that's what we were gonna do.
Well, a lot of things, the way things were set up, did not come out, as you know.
Didn't get all the way through.
They didn't get all the way followed through, but my fear is down the road, as it was 4 years ago, 5 years ago, when I found out we were charging taxpayers for the use of our ambulances.
Right.
And the way it was set up originally, nobody could find records of that, but I was one of the selectmen that was sitting here, chairman at the time, when the Alton Volunteer Ambulance Services turned everything over to the Alton Fire Department. We went to charging through insurance companies, and we said, yes, you can charge the insurance company, but if there's something left, you don't charge them. So that kind of all changed over the years. And so I'm just trying to make sure down the road,
This fund don't change.
the fund doesn't change, but there was nothing ever saying in there they had to leave enough money to buy an ambulance. So as the capital reserves goes, if we just set up new ambulance fund, new ambulance, and if the chief came on board and said, I want to take $50,000 out of that revolving fund and put it in this account every year for a new ambulance, at the end of 5 years, you've got $250,000 in there for 6 years, $300,000, which will buy him a new ambulance.
Right.
So on the capital improvement worksheets, the ambulances are on there. the stretchers are on there, the monitors are on there, but they're all out of this same account.
Same account.
They're out of the same revolving fund.
But that was when we had the big hoorah over the ambulances. That was when we took the pay and stopped and put them on, so you had people on the ambulances.
This is,
And it was, my recollection of the discussion is we were gonna set up some type of fund, so we always had that money for the new ambulances.
Right. So the
We
money,
didn't have to scramble
the
it.
money's there, it's just not in its own separate place.
it's not protected.
Right.
So what I,
The only protection I have
General.
is you guys. We can't spend a dime out of it without you.
so what I'm saying is,
General fund.
what I'm saying is, to me, this account at 681,000 should have 50, say if it's 700,000 at the end of the year. He gets more income coming in. 50,000 at 700,000 should go into, selectmen transfer into the capital reserve fund, kind of like the water department can with theirs.
Catch up.
You do it for 6 years. Well, how old's the first ambulance? 3 years now?
Yep.
All right, 3 years.
Yeah.
So it'd be up to him to come up and say, instead of the 50, let's do 75. We'll get caught up that way in the next 3 years.
I mean, when you set it up, you make the first deposit pretty big out of that.
Yeah. Two is, if he came in now and said, we just lost the ambulance. We have no insurance because we blew the engine in it. It isn't worth repair and fixing. He's gonna hit 300,000, it's gonna drop right to 381,000. That 381,000 isn't gonna go far with him. He has a very bad year of rescues and everything else. That's why I'm saying if the 50,000 was put in that special, in this capital reserve fund for ambulance only, for new ambulance, they'd have it in 6 years, they'd have the money sitting there ready for a new ambulance.
And even if we don't need it, then it just keeps building. So we've always got money for the ambulances.
But we noticed the last time we went 10 years,
Yeah.
then we went 12 years. And they were just falling apart. We just kept
They were
putting
bad.
3,000, 5,000 into them.
There was a hope that those ambulances, those Freightliners were supposed to last a very, very long time.
Yeah.
I would say almost all the fire departments in the area switched to them. These heavy duty trucks were gonna last 15 years and just unheard of.
Well,
Not
I mean, I would maybe make that suggestion to the town administrator, and you yourself bring that to it.
I'd like to see it.
Okay.
To me, I would like to see it, I don't know. about the rest.
Me too.
yeah, makes
No, I
sense.
think so. Makes sense.
We were gonna do when we.
I think it's pretty much unanimous.
This should be an easy one, because it doesn't cost the taxpayers anything out of the taxes itself. This is all from revenues.
Plus it kind of protects it, so we're never caught in a
And
bind.
if you remember, there was the time when we first started talking about this 5 years ago, there's only 175,000.
Yeah, and we didn't know if it was even gonna pay the payroll. I mean,
So
we were
this-
nervous back then.
I think moving the payroll to the fire department fund really saved
Helps
us.
save it.
Saving that account.
Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, I don't know about you, if you have any more questions on the chief on this, but I'm very satisfied with the budget of $131,101.
Cool.
Everybody like to make a motion to approve the 2021 budget?
Make a motion that we approve the ambulance budget at $131,151.
A second?
Motion made by Mr. McDonald to approve the ambulance budget of $131,151, second by Paul Rochelle. Any other discussion? Poll the board, Mr. McDonald.
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. Votes in the affirmative. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good night.
Want to stay for some hard stuff? Have a good night, Chief. Thank you.
Good one, thank you.
All right, next budget presentation is administration. I guess Lori's going to present that.
Yeah. Be kind.
And if not,
Be
you want the
kind.
town administrator to do it, we can postpone it, make her do it if you want.
It's not that bad.
Well, right now, we can cut, and then we'll yell later. Then we can explain law.
Laura, if you want to start, present some highlights of the,
Well, I believe the only changes would be the raises.
wages, yep.
I
We
had
don't
a,
know the dues and fees yet because we're missing the New Hampshire municipal, I believe. I can go look. She'll have it written in the notes.
You notice, gentlemen, in there, the town administrator's put in for the selectmen, that increase of $200, I don't agree with it, I'm satisfied with what I make, I don't do this for the money.
I agree,
I'm
Mr. Chairman.
satisfied.
If you'd like to level fund that to 16,325 versus 16,585, I wouldn't have a problem with that.
Yes,
Yep.
So what's that number?
16,325. 16,325.
Salary for the treasurer, trustees, and full-time, well, that goes up 2%, but
Probably just two.
I think it's 2% for COLA.
It's 1.6% per quarter.
1.6% for COLA, that's the difference.
They don't get the merit.
This is an elected position. If they want more money, it's normally been up to elected officials to go before the board.
Then why? They don't get merit. Why do the stipends get added merit? Stipends in some of these things get added merit.
The only thing that's added in there is the 1.6 COLA. Non-officers, part-time wages, that should be on upstairs, if I'm not mistaken. Wages overtime, roughly level funded. You had an increase in postage, $300 in office supplies. Mileage is up.
Mileage is up.
I had a question on the postage, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
As of now, there's 65% basically left, and, it's gone up 1,500.
Make a motion.
No, I just, clarification.
Pointing it out. What about the audit expense?
Line item are you on?
161.
Audit we do every year, right?
That's a contract we have with them. I don't know if that's an increase in the contract.
Looks like an increase in the contract.
Not that much, though.
$4,000.
It's the gas fee 75 that you have to pay for every, other year, because they do it for 2 years. So that's the 1913 increase. You probably didn't do that last year, because it was probably included in the 19 and 20 were probably together. Now you're probably paying for 21 and 22 together.
I'm still confused on postage, Mr. Chairman. Is that, it says, outgoing mail through the postage machine. Also says UPS does not provide advance notices of increases.
Okay, so that's a question. That's a question that has to go back. This is just a presentation. We don't have to approve the budget tonight.
If you read the, funding request, in 2018, 24,000 pieces of mail. In 2020, there was 15,000 pieces of mail as of July.
I think it's more because there's mailing a lot of absentee ballots. There's a lot of election stuff going out, more lien notices.
Okay, good.
I was going to say something about
Well, yeah, that should be, yeah.
all the extra mailing for that.
I'm gonna say, at this point, because it's not fair to Laura.
Right.
For her to describe something she might know something about.
Let's review this again.
Town administrator to come back.
I agree.
Could I bring up one more thing so that it could be clarified? Is the town administrator's pay increase? It's at 5%. I don't remember the board addressing that. Maybe I'm wrong.
You haven't yet.
When you do her review, she can get anywhere between, I think it's 3 and 5, up to 5%.
Yes.
You budget worst case scenario.
It's 3 to 5.
Correct. So you budget at the top. Looks like we're all 0 to 3, so everybody's budgeted for 3.
Needs to come up.
But I have a problem with that because we went through this last year. It was supposed to be done in June, and we got it after budgets. And we're supposed to be doing it in June, so we can set it in the budget. And she's done this every year since she's been here. And we keep asking if it's supposed to be done in June, bring it in June.
Mm-hmm.
Well, who does the evaluations?
We do.
Who does?
She does.
All of us. She does. She does.
Contract doesn't
She does.
over it.
Gentlemen, one at a time.
The contract says It's a self-evaluation.
Yes, and then we go over.
The position self-evaluates itself. Then it comes before the Board of Selectmen from the self-evaluation, and it's up to the Board of Selectmen to do an evaluation on their own. The Board of Selectmen meet in non-public discussion to set the evaluation. The chairman normally sits down with the individual after that and gives her the results of the evaluation and what the Board of Selectmen is recommending for a pay increase, and then it is released into public knowledge.
She doesn't always get the 5.
When does this take place?
Sure.
Gentlemen, at this time, I'm asking the table until the town administrator can meet with us and answer some questions, but if Laura can let her know that there was a question on the postage, the big increase, a little more description and definition about it.
Yes.
Is there anything else, gentlemen, so when we do meet with her, she'll have the answers for your questions?
I think we should do her email too, so we can figure out what, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
The only other one was the audit expense, and Laura might explain that to you if you don't understand it, maybe.
She explained it.
For us. That was really the only significant increase. Right now, the budget is showing $11,000 increase, which is roughly about 3.5% increase over last year. So if you'd like, we can table this budget.
Table, yeah.
Next one is legal, 4153, John. And send us to that tonight.
I think this one should be an easy one.
$11,000 from last year. Roughly 11, I think it's $10,995.
Oh, I have a little problem with this one anyways. Because
How
we
is it?
made a thing last year. We made a motion that if people are gonna use the town lawyer and go to court and this and that, or hire private lawyers, they were gonna come in front of us first. And yet, we've still got boards doing it without even letting us know. And they carry a lot of money in there, some of these boards, in their budgets and in their little accounts, and yet the taxpayers are flipping the bill when they can't get along with something. And I think that's wrong. It shouldn't come out of here. They should have to come in front of us, and we should decide whether they can use our lawyer. This is our budget.
I can see the sense in that.
Well, we've got hired lawyers, a few of them now, that these boards are just going out and hiring and using this budget to do it with. And this is our budget, and they should have to come in front of this board and explain, have a damn good reason for it.
I agree.
Well,
Actually should.
well, no, if you look at these line items, attorneys' litigation fees, right? So, is that what they're coming out of?
Yes. The attorney litigation fees is coming out of, which we really can't say that, what a lot of them come out of. But any time, such as the planning board finds himself in error, and the town council recommends that they get their own attorney, which right now the town planning and the conservation commission has their own attorneys.
What's that
Yeah,
coming out of?
wait a minute. They have their own attorney, but we're paying it.
The town of Alden is paying for it, yes.
What account does that come out of, Mr.
They
Chairman?
didn't come in front of us and ask us.
Litigation fees would be coming on me funding request. The retainer of $15,900 is attorney success fee.
Well, what's legal contracted fees? This is where I get confused.
Well, I don't
The
want.
services for attorneys who deal with specialized areas.
Specialized areas, such as, say, if you had a union all of a sudden form in the town of Alton, you could find an attorney that basically deals in labor relations with unions and stuff like that.
Yeah, I saw that.
Years ago. That's what one would be put, but the $60,000 is ones that have been gone before the selectmen have dealt with. I think one was that we actually won was the Colchester case. The courts ruled in our favor. That money came out of that $60,000.
But from 2019 to 2021, we're almost doubling that. And yet,
Well,
these boards are hiring lawyers that we know nothing about.
Well,
And I know on a couple of these cases, the people have been willing to meet with their board's lawyers and the board to fix
the
it.
only,
And the board refuses, they want it in court.
the only boards that are really utilizing it is the ZBA or the planning board. Most of the time.
Conservation.
They're using it.
Conservation.
And if they're using it, then they should be right here to ask and tell, and should go into non-pub, and we should know about it before they hire and use our money.
I don't know if we could step on those grounds where they're elected boards. I don't know, Virgil. I'd have to ask the town administrator and town council on that. But lately, the town of Walton has found itself in some cases. You know that as well as I do. Last year, I think with that one,
Colchester.
Colchester was one. In total, 2019 expenditures were $55,424. 2020, $27,000 as of June.
35 was budgeted.
But every time a party does not like an answer from the court, which we just had recently, they appeal the court's decision. So now the attorney goes back in there, Mr. Sessler, that $15,900 is for retainer only. Questions, answers, attending meetings. Once things are filed in court and he's representing, that goes by the hour. That comes out of that $60,000 too. Which has been a few cases this year, he's had to go to court. So once the papers are filed, he's on the clock by the hour. So I don't like the legal services. I don't like it seeing it go up $11,000. But unfortunately, we're in those times where, and we're gonna get more in it because of that boundary line, lot line adjustment is coming to an end. And people are gonna be scrambling more on that to try to get the selectmen to approve those lots.
Believe it or not, it's slowed down. It's almost, I mean, when it first started, we were getting them all the time. Now we're not getting a lot of them.
I don't know how you gentlemen feel about the 137,576, if you want to get more questions, or if you want to try to set policy, we could ask the town administrator to contact legal counsel, meet with us to see if we,
But it does us no good.
wait a minute, to find out if the selectmen have the right to say to the planning board, conservation committee, and ZBA, that you gotta come before the board of selectmen before you hire an attorney. I don't know if we actually had that legal obligation. They have to do that by legal obligation.
We should find out. Why don't we table this along with the administration and talk to,
Did you ask Liz, have Liz get in touch with the town attorney?
Akasha?
And I'd also, Mr. Chairman, that legal contracted fee, $8,000, we haven't spent any of it this year, so.
No, but it's always been there in fact, but if the unions had gone through, as it was last year, you would have spent that in a heartbeat.
That's your investigation and not have to hire outside help.
We were petitioned 2 years ago that the police department had looked into petitioning the union, Benevolent Association Brotherhood out of Massachusetts.
Right.
At that point, we hired a lawyer to represent us, but then we got notification that the police department withdrew the notification to form a union. Some of that money did get spent. I think it was $2,800 actually.
Yeah,
It's a little less than that because it was actually 2018.
Thank God.
Shows that in 19.
Thank you.
All right, so we will table legal also. All right, moving on to C then, under number 5, welfare is our last one. Request for welfare is 62714. That is up primarily due to the wages part-time, which has the cost of living adjustment. The general assistant is $89,000. The IT fund, which is the money's there, is $26,000.
Hang on. Because I have welfare.
Water and welfare?
No,
General assistant.
that's a budget, who knows?
Other side of the yellow.
Want to water down welfare? I don't know where it's gonna come in for the end of the year.
I have another question here.
Yes, sir.
Why are we coming up with tax dollars for the hiking fund, which is a trust fund out of this town hall? Hiking fund expense $26,000. That should be out of the hiking fund, not out of taxpayers' money. We shouldn't have to come up with that and then take it out of hiking fund.
My question has been asked every year, there's an answer for it every year, but I cannot give it to you.
Yeah, that we have to produce the money in order to use the money. But I don't think that's right.
I don't know how the trust was set up originally, if that had to go in before this way. I don't know, Virgil. Do you want to table this again?
Yes, let's table this and go along with administration and legal.
Can we get a question on that one too? Might as well ask Jim too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure it's because it's payroll.
No, what he's saying though, well, yes, because Heike Fund is payroll.
It is payroll, but if it's coming out of the Heike Fund, which we have a trust fund for that, why are we having to use tax dollars to build it in the budget first, to take it out of the Heike Fund? You're taking
Yeah, I know.
$26,000 in here from the taxpayers, and you're taking the money out of the trust fund.
Depends on how the trust fund is worded, I don't know, maybe Liz can answer that question, and town attorney can for us.
Gotta find that out.
Okay, gentlemen, so welfare, stable, along with administration and legal. So at this time, this brings us to number 3, other business. And Laura's gonna bring up an item for you that you've been waiting for. I was notified of it today. I was gonna wait and have her bring up the meeting, but I decided, no, let's get it out in the air and in the open. And we'll see how much of and I did get an email from Liz. I believe Liz's words were that this is 15 years overdue.
You wanna pass them down?
Is this public or not?
I hope, you all can understand, I've been out shopping for health insurance for myself. And Blue Cross Blue Shield sent me so many different plans. It just drove me up the wall, and I just finally asked the sales rep, I said, how about just send me something that they couldn't.
I thought we were setting this up when we discussed this a while back, that we were gonna have
One,
benefits.
One more.
Oh, there's 2 here. There's 2 here.
Oh, hang on, Ruben, there's 2 here. I thought, when we discussed this a while back, a year or 2 ago, that we were gonna work on the town,
personnel policy?
personnel policy, and have workshops on insurance and benefits. So we,
Wait a minute. So I might have went a little bit too far. The prices for the health insurance came in. The reason Laura has worked on this, because they've come in, the prices have to be brought to the Board of Selectmen for attention for the prices. There's a significant price increase this year. Laura's gonna tell you about it. She's just gonna give you some food for thought tonight, not to make any decisions or anything else. We talked about the employee policy 2 months ago. And we're told then, with everything going on with the COVID, with everything they're having to do in the finance office, they have not had the time to go through the personnel policy to put it together, because all the paperwork she was having to put through for the Gopher Fund and the other fund, it was eating into their time. Plus also, there was an investigation done, which ate into their time. So they couldn't get all this done, plus with the normal everyday duties. So, but the prices came in for the health insurance this year already to be budgeted. We either have to prove it, or we have to decide what to do it. Laura has something she'd like to say to you.
Okay, so this one here with the highlighted. The first one that's highlighted is our current plan. That's medical. The medical is going up 21.8%, I believe.
this, Laura, this third row, is this the new one, or is this all?
So the 2 highlighted are our 2 options that are, the current one we have is the first one.
Right, 3,000 to 9,000?
That's the one we currently have.
Mhm.
That's the one that's going up 21.8%.
That's
It
going,
went up 12.6 last year, so we're looking at a 34% increase in 2 years.
that's going to the 512?
No. So this would be our new rates at the bottom. Like a single plan was going from $546 a month to $665 a month.
Family plans,
Can
for in
you,
a month?
you don't show that though, do you?
What's that?
The $500 a month.
You should have another paper in your packet
Mm-hmm.
that looks like this. It's white. That's what we
Okay.
currently have right now.
Okay, thank you. Now, well, maybe I was jumping the gun on you too fast.
Okay. So, just so you know, the dental rates, there's no change. Short-term disability had a decrease of a penny, so that doesn't make much change. Long-term, you don't have life coverage, there's no change. So really, it's only your medical changing by the 21.8. So Liz had me have a discussion with Health Trust. I had quite the lengthy conversation. He believes our best bet would be to go with the second column. It'll be a savings to the town, about $5,000 a month to begin with, just in your premium. It does give the employee more to pay out of pocket. Like, if you can see the top, like if you go to a copay, it was now 25, it'll go to 30. Your deductible will go, for a single person, will go from 3,000 to 5,000. A family will go from 9,000 to 12,000. So like a two-person plan will go from 6,000 that we currently pay to 10,000.
But wait a minute, because don't the employee only pay a little bit of that and then the taxpayers pay the rest?
If you bring on to the next page,
Well, this
Two-person
is their
plan.
deductible, so,
this is just.
$1,000 deductible, two-person plan you're referring to?
Got $6,000 deductible, employee pays
Mm-hmm.
down.
correct. So this is your health rate, this is your health
The one I was looking at.
reimbursement currently. So right now, for a single person that pays $3,000, they pay 3.5% of their premium. And then out of their $3,000 deductible, the town literally pays the $2,250 out of that. They only pay $750. So after talking with the town administrator, she believes that we should move to the newer plan, which will save about $60,000 a year in your premium, but also change your health reimbursement to the new section where it's a 50-50, but the employee pays their 50% first.
Okay.
So that means the employee would literally have to have $2,500 in deductible and have Health Trust handle that. Currently, I handle that, but with them, they don't count your co-pays as a deductible. They don't count any of that. We currently just go by the explanation of benefits. If it says you pay it, we pay it. So theirs would be a little more strict to say of what would be included in that deductible portion to the employee. And it would make, having the employee pay first would make them shop better for their medical care.
Yep.
Is what the Health Trust is. Instead of them just going wherever because they'll get their money back, is what he's saying.
Is this for all town employees or just,
Well, that's where the town policy would have to be changed and amended for department heads, that the department heads pays as much as the regular workers do.
Right.
so this is just for hourly employees?
This is for full-time employees. Full-time employees right now pay, except department heads,
Right.
normal full-time employees pay 3.5% of their premium, and the town pays the rest.
So unless the motion is made at a selectmen's meeting, you want to bring up insurance, that effective such and such a day, employee policy finding benefits for employees, that all employees, including department heads, will pay the same as everybody else. Then you could change that policy at that point, amend that policy, before you wait for the policy to change. But I just want to say, people out there listening, the public, cases, employees, annual cost of the town is $6,555.24. The town pays $6,325, that's 81 cents. The employee on a single plan only pays $229.44. That's pretty inexpensive insurance, especially for an employer who has to provide health insurance, which I do not for mine because I can't afford it. Two-person, it's $13,110. The town pays $12,651.73. The employee only pays $458.88. Family, $17,699. The town pays $17,079 for a family, which could consist of not a two-person, 3 to 5, or even 7 That's pretty inexpensive. The taxpayers of our state, our town, our country are paying the fees that cover this. In the private sector, unless you have a contract denoted, you do not get this. If your deductible is $6,000, you might have a health account worth $2,500 that the company pays for. You have to pick up the rest, and you still have to pay in a significant amount to your health insurance. I'm not saying I like to do this, but it comes to common senses. The town taxpayers can't keep affording this. Because the people on the outside who are paying their property taxes to pay for this aren't getting the same benefits.
Totally agree.
I'm not saying I want to crush them with debt or anything else, but I think it's time that needs to stand as right, because we have significantly increased the pay over the years and brought them up outside world or to the private sector. But it's also time that the insurance, that they have to take some of this burden. The taxpayers cannot keep taking it.
In the chin.
Make a motion at a selectmen's meeting.
That's been motion and a second.
Just put on the agenda, so we can do this at the selectmen's meeting.
Well, I want you to review this for the next 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, we'll come back and do the budget on the health insurances. And at that time, we'll have other business health insurance.
So we can do it right then and there. We don't have to wait for a selection.
I'll ask Laura to ask Liz if we can amend the personnel policy on health insurance that all employees, including department heads, pay the same amount when it comes to deductible and their share of what it costs in the insurance.
Yes, everybody's on the same boat.
Everybody's on the same boat, because your department heads are the ones that are making the higher dollar anyways. So the ones that are making $100,000, there's no reason they can't pay. Same as someone that's only making $30,000.
I agree.
I had that. I'd like to have you review this. I don't know if Laura has any more to add to it.
Nope, that's just what, the
If you have
town
any
administrator
questions,
was
please
suggesting.
call Laura, ask her to give it a little more defining for you.
Yeah. I'll come in there.
It's always fun to review.
But I have to say, this falls back on our federal government.
I agree.
Prices fall back on them for this Affordable Care Act that they passed in Washington, where they say that everyone's bad for wanting to take it away from people. Well, most people can't afford it, so they don't carry it anyways.
Right.
And I have to admit, I have no health insurance right now, because I can't find anything I can afford or I want to afford. I mean, I can afford it, but I want something that I can use. I don't want to pay $700, $800 a month and not be able to use it till I'm $6,000 deductible.
You don't want maternity coverage in your?
No, I don't want maternity coverage, and I don't want drug abuse coverage in it either.
Right.
But all I'm saying is, that CARES Act they passed in this country, and the Democrats say what they want, it's the best thing going, and it serves thousands of people, and it does. But it's the taxpayers that are paying for it, and some folks that can't even afford to get insurance for themselves. So all I'm saying is, this has been a good plan for all the employees, and ask them to chip in a little bit more I don't think is asking too much.
No, it's not.
Hopefully someday in Washington, they can figure it out. And not say this is an affordable plan for an individual or a family that has to pay their own, because it's not.
No.
All right, I said my little spiel and I got off the cage. I'm sorry. So one of you should have reined me back in. Let me go. Gentlemen, at this point, if Laura has nothing else for us at this point, I will call for an adjournment at, oh, wait a minute. Yes, Mr. Whitman.
Our next meeting going to be the last on budgets, our next budget meeting?
I'm not quite sure on that.
Because on the last budget, I'd really like to see the figures for the entire budget.
Well, I think our next meeting, well, it's hard to do it our next meeting. In 2 weeks, we'd have another budget meeting. We still got to review
Right.
administration, legal,
2 more meetings.
welfare.
Okay, so 2 more meetings.
So hopefully at a selectmen's meeting, Liz can bring us with, or Laura can bring in a bottom line, but we have to figure out the health first.
When we get what's in here, bottom line, what we had bottom line last year, bottom line this year, it's usually in our books.
Bottom line for the whole year.
It's usually in there all the time, right from the beginning.
As far as bottom line for what?
Everything, all these budgets added together, so we know last year and this year with everything added in. and then we change, we keep deducting out of that as we deduct out of the budgets.
So we're at
Hey,
least,
you're spending these books every year.
Are you saying
20 years. Total
budget
operating
actual? You wanna know what's being budgeted and what was actually spent?
for the whole budget.
Okay. To a point can't be had because we just only finished up the third quarter. We still got one more quarter to go.
But we've always, whatever this budget is for, we had a budget last year, and it's, the pages are always in these books. We had a budget last year,
You got it this year.
and we have a budget.
We got all the way back to 2019. 2019 budget was 26,000. Actual was 11.
No, for the whole book. We've always had them pages in there that says, that has, this, everything, every one of these budgets added up onto a page. Everything we spent last year added up onto a page. We have
You're talking about like your monthly expense
Yeah.
report.
Yeah, but we have it for the whole year, that's it's supposed to be in the book. It's always been in the books, I checked my books in the attic today, and they've been in there for 20 years.
I've been going off my monthly expenses report when Laura gives them to us.
When we do this, when we do the budget, we do all these, we always have a bottom line of what all these add up to. And
You mean
as
at the
we
end?
Yeah, and as we cut these, we deduct off of that, it gives us a total of what we're
Right.
down to.
so we'll have two more meetings, and in that second meeting, we should be able to have that.
Let's hopefully have it up, yes. We'll have a bottom line.
That's usually in this book all the time, right from the start.
Bottom line of your operating budget.
All right, gentlemen, if there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn at 7:46.
Second.
Motion made by Reuben Wentworth to adjourn at 7:46, second by Mr. McDonald. Any discussion? Hold the board, Mr. Holt,
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle,
Yes.
Mr. Whitman,
Yes?
Mr. McDonald. Yes. Mr. Wentworth, yes. We are adjourned, folks, at 7:46. We'll see you Monday.